All right, we got another great, massive weekend and some unfortunate DC news here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Y'all know me, I'm Jay, that's Coop, that's PG. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listen to. While you're here, please wipe your feet. Like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, on today's episode, we got some fun stuff to talk about. We're going to dive deeply into this defensive coordinator search, and we'll also talk about a massive recruiting weekend, which is why we have PG here, who's losing his mind also while watching the Chiefs game. So happy Sunday, everybody. Coop, how you feeling, my man?
You know the meme where it's just the guy in the overalls and he's just in the crowd and he's just doing the thumbs down? That's how
you feeling today?
That's fun. But no, it's not there. I mean, listen, man, like I said, you got to disconnect. You got to enjoy some love. Enjoy your life. Because You know what? I still get to eat dinner here in a few minutes. So there we go.
PG, man. Massive weekend, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's going to be an even more massive weekend if the Chiefs, or the Chefs, as I told you earlier, go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that commercial cracks me up every time. You can tell Andy Reid has a lot of fun doing those commercials with Mahomes. Every single one of them, he just has so much enthusiasm. And it doesn't feel like he's trying to act. It really just seems like that's just how much of a goofball he seriously is. But I have an appreciation for that. Chat is filling up.
Bowls and you don't have to worry about your job every year. It's like, why not? Why not have fun?
True. True. He's also setting a very high expectation to where, you know, if he ain't winning a whole bunch of Super Bowls, nobody likes him. But yeah, they're gonna try to fire the man. But no, it's good to see everybody in the chat. I see every single one of y'all in here. Thanks for pulling up. I know there are some hurt feelings in here. I'm not honestly sure why. We talked about this. What was that? Thursday night, Coop? Where we kind of dove into this Knowles stuff, and
yeah,
we'll lead off with that real quick. And I'll give y'all my opening rant. So, Jim Knowles, it's official. All of the national people that we were waiting for has made the announcement that Jim Knowles is taking the job at Penn State. Pete Thamel, Pete Nakos, all of the big name people finally put it out there. And for me, going into this, the only thing that I thought about all of this is it would be cool to have somebody that's that good and has that type of a mind to join the staff. That would be really cool. Do I think it makes or breaks anything? Absolutely not. But there is one thing, though, that I do consider out of this is that it is showing that Oklahoma's willing to swing for the fences in a situation that they can go after. Now, a lot of reports have said that supposedly he reached out to us first. So we could have been leveraged as a pawn initially in the pursuit for larger checks. Cool. But other reports have also said that Oklahoma always felt like it was a long shot at getting him. But they were willing to have the conversation. I don't think that that's a bad thing. Winning him was never something that was required. But like I said, it'd been great to have an additional great mind on staff. Start with you, Coop. Thoughts on all of it?
I mean, when we talked on Thursday, my point number one was this would be a good look for the optics side of it, just to go out and get the DC. Now I find myself a little confused about the optics piece because, I mean, it's obvious that Jim Knowles was not super excited about his time in Columbus. And you win, you go out on top, and then you go kind of a tad step down and go across the street, and you're going to go face your team. It just seems odd to me. The thing that I would definitely say is I think a lot of the news and everything got over leveraged and over exaggerated. I'm guessing, you always felt like the fiance living here was, the big ticket that was a big deal. Apparently it was not. or apparently he's making enough money to fly to and fro wherever he wants, on the dime of Penn State. And so, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you've already got Brent Venables. The defense was not the issue here. You went out and addressed the offense. You went out and addressed the quarterback. You went out and addressed the wide receivers stuff. And so, long story short, I just think that, this would have been a terrific deal. This was an embarrassment of riches type of a situation if it would have happened. But it's obvious the pending. This is this is done. That all that talk obviously just ended up not being it. He chose to go to Penn State. That was his choice. Whatever happened, that was his choice. The contributing factors of the fiance seem to not be as much as the ones on the tax return. So, all in all, we'll still have a good defense.
Yeah, that's my thoughts. PG, how you feel about it?
I mean, we're going to be fine, but, I mean, I really, really, really wanted Jim Knowles because I really thought it would help Brent Venables with the, game time errors that we've seen a little bit because he would be able to, I feel like, completely disconnect himself from the defense and just kind of let Jim Knowles do his thing. So, I talked about this in my reaction video to Knowles going to Penn State, and I said, if Brent Venables is going to end up calling the defense because we didn't land Knowles, what does Oklahoma do at that point? Because I think Oklahoma now needs to make a move to either we see all the time in the NFL. Head coaches will have analytics people to kind of feed them information on, should you go for it on fourth? What does that look like? Does Brent Venables need to now have an assistant that purely watches the clock, advises him when he should take a timeout so that when he's ingrained in the defense, he's got somebody standing right next to him who can help make those decisions. That's kind of the only bummer and the reason why I'm upset about us not landing Jim Knowles. But it's not because the defense sucks and we need him. It's mainly because now I understand Brent Venables is going to be calling the defense all year, and we need somebody to help him out on the just operational side of a football game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, PG. What makes you think they don't have that today?
If you have that today, then you need to fire whoever is that because it ain't been working.
I don't think it hasn't been working. I think that it's just not perfect. It's not a perfect science. There's no perfect science to that circumstance, and we haven't been terrible at time management. We just haven't been perfect. But it's not something that I don't believe we have that. That's why you have so many analysts. I mean, you can go look at the staff or whatnot. But I get what you're saying. You do want someone that's stronger at it. I don't think that a Jim Knowles would have given you someone stronger at that spot. Jim Knowles would have been up there at the booth focusing on the defenses and stuff, which it's always nice to have somebody up there in the booth that can focus on that, read what the offense looks like they're going to have, be prepared in game planning, and be able to make the right call. So I get where you're coming from with that. I just don't feel like it would have been a great addition, but I don't think there's a single subtraction. But now the question is, who are we going to go after? Do we need a defensive coordinator right now? Do we need a linebacker coach right now? And I'm going to be honest, I don't think we should rush. I think we should take our time. Continue to take our time like we've been this entire endeavor. I don't think that it really changes much going forward. I mean, I know a lot of fans, we got people in the chat that are having fun, taking their victory lap. So there's no way he would go here. There's no reason for him to come here. I mean, sure, but I think the point of the conversation was that we just wanted to see if we could add somebody additional elite to the staff. And I think it's silly to even complain about it, if you want me to be 100% honest. Like, why? Our defense wasn't our problem last year. It was offense. We addressed that by adding new staff people. And so now we need to see if Ben Arbuckle can do it. But where is the problem on defense? Like, where? I just want somebody in the chat to tell me.
And it's funny that people, act like Jim Knowles didn't need to come here. He didn't need to go to Penn State either. Like, Penn State had a really good defense too. Now, yeah, like they're without a defensive coordinator as well, but Penn State's historically had good defenses too. So, I mean, realistically, like, that argument to me feels invalid when people say that because I'm like, didn't need to go to Penn State either. I do look at it and I just say at this point, I think you need to pull the trigger on Wes Goodwin as your linebackers coach. it seemed like he really worked well with Brent Venables when he was at Clemson.
I agree
Bring
with
him
you
back
there.
here, and maybe you can have something similar. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think that's your next move, and I think that's probably the only move you make,
Yeah. And
unless Jim Leonard wants to become available. We start that all over again.
Coach Rick's.
Shout out Coach Ricks.
Yeah.
$2. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Go ahead, Coop.
And again, that seems to be like a move that's going to get made. And if anybody wants to know why don't you make him the DC? I think if he's an analyst, he can get paid by both OU and Clemson. Am I correct in saying that? So
Yes.
just go. He's going to do that again. There's going to be improvement on the defensive side, but let's not pretend that defense was really good. We've gone through over this, pretty at length. Even through the offense just never helping out, it was good. So all in all, yeah, everybody thought national championship winning defensive coordinator coming here from Ohio State, that makes us look like absolute studs. We are the same today as we were last Sunday. We come off the same exact schedule, the same exact record, and the defense just needs some help from the offense. I think that the game management stuff is going to be something that we want to see continue to get better. But again, I still feel like this. My assessment on our record this year doesn't change internally for me by not getting Jim Knowles.
Yeah, I think it maybe adds a game, but I don't think it takes away anything to me, adding someone like him. Now, granted, to go with that, it's for the uninitiated, Wes Goodwin did not get poached or hired over to Oklahoma because he's not on staff right now yet. The rumors are that they're going to add him as an analyst, but because Clemson let him go, they have to pay the buyout on his contract. And so, but in all coaching contracts, there's always a clause in there that says if you get another job, that it offsets how much you are owed on those buyouts. So, and it also kind of encourages you to go get a job too. In some ways, some contracts do, some don't. It just depends. So in that case, hiring Wes Goodwin over as your defensive coordinator is not a good idea. Why pay him when you don't have to? Or pay him all of it if you don't have to. There's nothing wrong with letting Clemson continue to pay him for a year, and then you work out, bringing in somebody at linebacker. To be honest, the one I would like to get at linebacker and recruiter will be awesome. Go get Odom.
Yeah.
Go get Brian Odom. He's a fantastic recruiter. I mean, he's the one that got you Danny Stutzman. He was a part of, if I'm correct, Kip Lewis as well as Kobe McKenzie. He's a really good linebacker coach and recruiter. Kenneth Murray is part of that, if I'm correct. I would take Odom. That would be a name I would try to go at, because I think he's in is he in North Texas? Is he at Texas State right now?
North Texas.
North Texas. Go get Brian Odom.
But
He can recruit.
Didn't he get like a high up job in North Texas?
He's a DC.
I'm sure we could outpay North Texas, but
He's the interim defensive coordinator at North Texas. It doesn't say that he's anything else.
Well, Jay, you're still missing like the biggest name and the easiest name that we could go get.
I hate you. Do not even. This is usually where you shenanigans, and I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, you're probably gonna say if it's legitimate, I'm willing to hear it. If it's shenanigans, please no.
Because he is still coaching, and if you called him, he would do it. If you called him, he would seriously do it. Go get yourself Bob Stoops. Damn it. He is coaching. He is available. He doesn't have to go
PG. Let me help you real quick. He's not available.
He is.
No, he's not. No. Please stop. He's not available. He's not available.
He's not.
If he was available, he'd been here a long time. He's not available.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's doing the UFL or whatever they call themselves today. There's a reason. Time. He doesn't want to put in the work and stress that college requires. It doesn't make any sense.
It's the same thing as Alabama going to get Nick Saban to come help out.
Exactly.
Like,
It's not realistic.
Bob walked away from a world that has changed immensely for probably the worse in his area. So, I just say this take your time, make it right. It's not going to be a massive deal whether or not we get somebody else or not. If you want to add somebody, sure, go for it. Let's do it. But yeah, the option of having Jim Knowles on staff was exciting for a lot of us when we started hearing a lot of the rumors about that stuff coming around.
Yeah.
It was exciting. Was it real? Was the conversation real? Yes. We respond upon the conversations going on. That conversation was going on. He chose Penn State. Penn State has a defense that actually is more similar to his. When we lost, was it Max Granville earlier this year? He made that choice to go to Penn State just because of the attacking defensive line, versus kind of what we ran. And Jim Knowles runs a little bit more something like that. He's very, very comfortable with that. Did he want one final massive contract before he rides off in the sunset and retires? Maybe so. But like I said, I just wanted, I wanted him here, I think, a lot more for the optics, a lot more for more defensive minds out here. But like I said, the defense is not something that I think that I wanted to put a massive focus on in the offseason. It was the offense. It was the quarterback. We got those.
Yep.
Now we move on.
So yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I'm at. It'd have been great. And yes, hyping it up and talking about it. Yes, exciting because it'd have been pretty cool if we were to land another great defensive mind on staff, but we don't need them. It would have been cool to do it. Hence why we talked about it as a cool addition, not something that we felt like was a definitive or a must need or a requirement. It would have just been fun to see these two minds out there trying to disassemble the SEC. That's what got my attention. That's what fascinated me the most. That would have been really cool. But I totally get why Penn State made the move too. They're desperate. I mean, yep. I know that Brent Venables' seat is super hot. They getting kind of tired of James Franklin being 4-20 against top 10 teams.
Yeah,
you go look at their boards. The fans are losing their mind. They're tired of always coming up short. That Notre Dame game, all those fans feel like they should have won it, even though their quarterback didn't complete a single pass to a wide receiver. They felt like they should have won that game. They're getting to that point where it's like it keeps butting against the edge, and they're just not moving past the ceiling. And I think that that's something that they're desperate. They need that. And then they lost Tom Allen to Clemson right under their nose. Nobody knew it. That's no different than Ohio State's like, wait a minute, Jim Knowles wants to leave? Why didn't nobody tell us? We didn't get the email. Where was the carrier pigeon? Nobody told him.
Nobody.
These coaches shopping around.
And I will say, though I am not the massive fan of the proxy argument of, well, they beat that team and so we beat them, so that means we're better than them. That really doesn't work out like that. It's about matchups more. But like they barely lost that game against Notre Dame, and the Notre Dame actually just went out and got waxed. So I don't think that Jim Knowles looked at the situation and was like, well, Penn State's closer than Oklahoma is or anything like that. I think it's just like he went out and got the best, contract that his agent could get him. And it's not, I'm just saying it's you're either first or you're last, little Ricky Bobby action. And it doesn't look like Penn State was a move away because Penn State's issue has never been defense. It's always been what they throw out there at offense and at quarterback.
Every year.
Every single year, does not matter who it is. It does not matter. It just does not matter. It's whatever the quarterback is, whatever his NFL projection is, any of that stuff. You can't compete a ball to a wide receiver. You got the tight ends. You leaned on some running game. It's just the same thing. And so he's going to go there. And again, I think Penn State's probably going to be in the mix again next year for the playoffs. That's going to be good for them. But he also has to turn around and play, go against Ohio State at some point if you're Penn State, and we'll see what happens. So, but we missed out on it. Like I said, defense is going to be something that's going to be good, and need our offense to show up and be part of the game too.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see. They'll have Oregon come to town. They'll travel to Ohio State. Indiana's going to come to town. That's honestly it. Mm-hmm. That's your schedule.
The problem
Or
is Penn State just has to put out a competent offense. Like, last year we talked about, you need to go out there and score 25, 30 points a game on offense. That's all Penn State needs to do. The problem is Oklahoma might be closer than Penn State because at least Oklahoma over the years has been able to flip-flop from offense to defense. Penn State has been searching for this offense for like 20 years.
And it cracks me up with the Drew Aller talk or whatnot. I don't think Drew Aller's a bad quarterback, but I see him struggle against really good defenses. So I'm guessing adding Jim Knowles will allow for them to be able to do better scouting, I guess, in practice and make Drew Aller get forged in fire, I guess. I don't know. I've not seen the allure of him at quarterback at all. That's the one thing I have not seen, like, at all. I have yet to understand why everyone is excited about Drew Aller. Like, I haven't seen him take the team, put him on his back, and go out there and make something happen. I haven't seen him do it yet.
Give Drew to, like, a great offensive mind, and he'd be a great quarterback. But at Penn State, he'll never be anything.
I don't think he has it in him. I'm going to be honest. I just don't. I've never seen him do it.
I need to see a Penn State quarterback succeed like that. And I'm not talking about let's get some, barely color TV out from the 80s when they were good. Like, it is what it is. And so
heck, we've watched Dylan Gabriel go out there and win us a game. Like, we've seen him do it once before. Yeah. We saw him do it at Oregon too. So that's kind of my point. All right. So I see what you're saying, Coop.
Yeah. And guys, I mean, we saw all of this. We allowed ourselves, and me included, I allowed myself to put myself mentally in that spot. And I said on Thursday, I think that the decision was known one way or the other. In some of our text messages, back and forth, I didn't know which way it was, but I figured it was done at that point. I thought that the parade would either be used as a distraction or not. When it all comes down to it, man. We've seen our steals. We went and stole Dylan Gabriel out from campus at UCLA.
Yeah, we've done it before.
Ago. We got Dom Williams in the offseason, not even a year ago, and that was the biggest piece. John Mateer was the number one player in the transfer portal, the most sought-after OC. So I think that if you're one of the doomers out there and you're like, man, we can't win anything. I mean, I just listed out several. Like, again, John Mateer was the number one transfer player. We got him. Arbuckle, a lot of other people were wanting him. Miami is wanting him. A lot of teams were wanting him, and we got him. So, I mean, there are W's that are happening. It's just let's not be super selective about putting 2 times the emphasis on the losses as the wins.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I think it's partially our fault as well because I don't think we talk about the massive wins that, and this could be for any program. I don't think this is just an Oklahoma problem. We don't talk about the massive wins that these programs have in keeping players on their team. Like, I can't remember who it was. Somebody during the national championship talked about how the reason why Notre Dame and Ohio State were so good this year was because they had one of the best roster retentions in college football.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we underscore that so often. Like, we always talk about who we can go out there and get, but we don't talk about the massive wins and keeping a guy like Jaden Jackson or an R. Mason Thomas or convincing a guy to come back for one more year. Because that costs more money, an argument, than it would to go get somebody else in the transfer portal.
Yeah, and a few people have talked about this too, that that the big problem too with Penn State is their wide receivers aren't elite. Like, they don't have really, really good wide receivers. Like, I totally get that. I mean, they just saw a whole bunch of dudes leave, too, at wide receiver because they don't have, quote-unquote, elite wide receiver play. The other thing, too, is that at wide receiver, that seems to be the position that when you go portal, you can go find dudes anywhere. Like, most schools can go bring in a whole slew of new wide receivers, and boom, they're really good. Shout out to Texas. They brought in 4 new ones, and that basically was their entire wide receiver room at that point for the next season. It works if you have a quarterback and an offensive coordinator that's worked together. The one thing that I like to point out for Oklahoma is, this is why I'm showing Brian Odom right now, because I would love for him to go ahead and come here as our defensive coordinator or just linebacker coach. He can come here as linebacker coach. I think he'd be fantastic. Is that as long as you got a quarterback and offensive coordinator that's been together for a few years, things usually work out well. And that's exactly what we saw that's what we're getting out of John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle. They've been together for the last few years, and that's going to change the game here. So shout out to COGBIJ. Thanks for the 99 cents. We appreciate that contribution. But to me, think we're fine. So now we can start talking about the most important stuff. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. Hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. We got almost 800 people in between X and YouTube. YouTube just under 200. Let's go ahead and run those numbers up on the like and share. Why? Because sharing is caring. Coop, PG, this weekend was a big weekend. Mm-hmm. I've been seeing social media posts like crazy.
Yeah.
Talk to me, PG. How do you feel about this junior weekend? I'm gonna put up the names of folks I'm gonna pull up the list of players that actually came through so everybody can see. Hold up. We got one from David. David, $10. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Why not pay the asking price? I think that's what he's saying, asking price. I don't think the asking price was the problem. I just think that Jim decided that he would prefer to go to Penn State rather than come to Oklahoma. Just going to be honest. I don't think the asking price was the problem. I heard that we were right there in numbers, and we would have went up if he wanted to continue to go up. But I think that just decided that Penn State was there.
And
this is a good question, real quick. Stacy asks, is there any bad blood between BV and Brian Odom being let go from his initial staff? Brian Odom wasn't let go. Brian Odom actually left and went to USC because he didn't know if he was going to be retained by the new staff. So he went ahead and jumped ahead of it before he had the opportunity of being fired. I think that was more of a fear of getting let go rather than. So I don't think that there's really any bad blood. Coop?
And I mean, if I'm going 100% off memory on this one, I'm pretty sure that he was on a recruiting visit like hours before he actually took the job with USC. So I mean, like he was still fulfilling his job and everything. At that point, it seemed like shenanigans, like more Lincoln Riley shenanigans, that he was like tampering with what we were doing. But number one, he's on defense, and Lincoln doesn't understand that side of the ball. So, but he was here still doing his job. So I mean, I like it. But then also, like, I don't think that. We kind of talked about it. I don't think that Jim Knowles, I mean, he is from Pennsylvania. So, Kyle, you got that one right there.
Yes.
Jim Knowles also was going to be the same type of full responsibility for what we were kind of asking of him. So, do you pay $3.5 million for a guy who's not going to do all the requested, things that a DC was going to do? We said he was kind of like icing on the cake.
Yeah. I don't think he was the cake. I think he was the icing, and not everybody does icing. You know what? I kind of want some yellow cake with chocolate icing now. I've been thinking about that for the last few days. I have to do that when I get back in town. Anyway.
Lemon, you don't want me calling the defense. I would. You should see me.
You do not want PG. I've seen Tim on NCAA. You do not want PG to touch any side of the football field.
Zero blitz. 5 wide or
literally cover zero nonstop. He's just gonna throw it deep.
I'd be sending people home all day long.
Max protect and just launch it. That's it. Just max protect and launch it on them, and it works. All right. So we had junior weekend this past weekend, and so of course a substantial amount of big time recruits pulled up into town. Oklahoma had some big name players in town, and we're going to look through some of these. Of course, you've got your main guy here, Jaden O'Neal, the cornerstone of your recruiting class. He was here hanging out with some of the Oklahoma players like Mason James, as well as KD, Caden Jones, who I think, oh man, that'd be great to be able to match all of them together, keep some in-state talent, while at the same time bringing in, some greatness from California. Then, of course, Ryder Mix was in. PG, when it comes to the players that pulled up, what have you heard that you can share and pretty excited about?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think everybody saw Caden Jones and Mason James post with Jaden O'Neal, and those have been long-standing relationships since Jaden's committed. Those are two of his priority targets. I'm still on the train of I don't think we see them commit till sometime after the spring game timeline. So in between spring game to maybe June and that time, I think that's when you see them. Remember, they're being recruited by heavy schools like Tennessee and Alabama recruiting Mason James pretty hard. And then you got Caden Jones. You got Tennessee pulling up on him. And it's interesting because Josh Heupel knows about the talent here in Oklahoma, and he's going to continue to try to pursue it. So, and I think Mason James also being recruited by Michigan, but I don't think Sharon Moore and that staff's really made a ton of strides there. I think it's really just Alabama and Tennessee that's going to give Oklahoma fits for Mason James. But ultimately, as long as Jaden O'Neal stays committed in this class, which I think he will, I think you can land both of those guys. Now, some of the guys that came in this weekend that actually intrigued me outside of maybe some of the names that you've seen on Twitter like Valid and Stone and guys like who we definitely want are two Texas A&M guys, Markel Ford and Ryan Gilbert. Ryan Gilbert plays corner. Markel Ford plays safety. These are two guys that I don't think their commitments are going to hold to A&M. They're going to be taking many other visits, and I think they're both planning to come back in the spring. Markel Ford, I actually have slated in my class predictions. I actually didn't even have Gilbert on my radar up until this week. So this is going to be interesting to see, if Oklahoma is going to start trying to go out there and be the aggressor and flip from schools that have historically kind of, it feels like, beat us all the time. So that was nice to have those guys on there. But I'm curious. I got to follow up with Valden Stone. I was going to give him until about Monday, and then I was going to hit him up. And then the guy out of Ohio State, I'm going to butcher his name. It's his name is
Sincere Johnson.
Sincere Johnson.
But first, before you get on Sincere, this kid, Valden Stone, big boy.
Oh, he's big. Yeah. Jay, I think
he's legitimate in his size. That's the crazy part.
And I think we're going to land him. I think we have a really good shot. Early, it seems like we have a really good shot to go out there and land a guy like that.
Yeah, look at him compared to BV. Just standing there next to BV. Look at that. And BV's not a little dude. We all know that. But look at him. Look at the wide shoulders. Look at the wide base.
And his name's V. And he's with Coach V. And I mean, that whole interaction was just, kind of made me happy just watching that. And, again, it's all this stuff was going on while all this, the whole fan base was tied up with the DC stuff. And, it's back it. I saw who was it in here? Somebody made a comment about, it says 26, the truth. I got you, brother. Like it says, the 26 year seems like shenanigans, but that's like, I mean, we're probably going to see commitments from a lot of these guys in between May, June, July, August, so it's game time for 26. The 27 class outside of one or two people was done extremely early. So PG, we had to dust PG off, take the blower, get all the dust off PG and get them back in action because it's been a minute.
Yeah. And wouldn't it be fun to have two Stones on the defensive line? Then we just find a third one.
I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have collect Infinity Stones because look at him. He's legitimately. Let me put this picture of him with everybody. See if this actually lets me do it. Oh, it went too big. My bad, guys. Look at that. He's legitimately 6'5", 320 pounds. A man. That is a man. Look at him. Huge human being. Huge human being. Imagine him on our defensive line.
Imagine him in the interior.
Man!
That takes away pockets. When I see guys like him, I think of guys like Calais Campbell who have just, because of their measurables, not the running, jumping, any of that stuff, but just the whole 6'6", 320 and stuff like that, that extends your career because all you got to do, if you can't get there, hands up. Because now all of a sudden there's a 7-foot plus wall, that you got to throw over as quarterback, and that takes away, that takes away angles. How many times have we watched shorter quarterbacks? At being an Oklahoma guy, like watch Baker Mayfield in the NFL, watch Kyler in the NFL, watch any of these guys in the NFL, and the ball is just, it never gets past the line of scrimmage, and they show it again, and you're like, there's no arm angle that you're going to get around that guy. He was just right there in your face, and it's game over.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, do you guys know how big Stone actually is?
I mean, he's a legitimate 6'5", 320.
Yeah, 320, and he don't look 320.
No, he doesn't. But he's got some wide shoulders, though. Like that's the crazy part.
But he's going to be one where I think this recruitment could go well into the summer, maybe longer. Like, I mean, he's got Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Florida State, LSU, Nebraska, Miami, Penn State, A&M. So, like, all of his offers are all Power 4 offers. And they're all, like, SEC Big Ten offers, every single one of them.
And we talked about linebacker coach. So, PG, as you were going into you talking about Sincere Johnson. This is your guy Sincere. And I mean, if you look at the coaching staff there's your linebacker coach right there.
Yep.
Scalzi. You know, he's taking care of it. Combination of him, you got Lossman, but look at the kid. Big boy. Sincere's another big, nice size linebacker, 6'3", 235, and rumor has it he really, really likes Brent Venables. So we're building that pipeline for the state of Ohio. Shout out to my guy, RP2, Reggie Powers II. Reggie Powers Jr., my apologies. Reggie Powers, the father of Reggie Powers III. That man is going to connect us heavily into that state of Ohio and continue that pipeline.
Yes. Last season, this kid had 121 tackles, 24 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles.
Jesus Christ.
This dude in a Brent Venables defense is going to eat. No, so again, this is all about, trying to rebuild into that Ohio pipeline a little bit because they actually turn out some decent players. I believe Jack Sawyer came from the state of Ohio.
Ohio puts out a lot of talent. That's why Ohio State's always so good. They put out talent.
Yeah, but this is the top 100 dude. So Oklahoma kind of got in here. I'm not going to say late, but later than some of the other schools. But at 6'3", 225, I think this is probably going to be one of your highest ranked linebacker commits if you land this guy. He loves Oklahoma so far from just the initial conversations. Even with us kind of having in limbo a linebackers coach and a defensive coordinator, you would imagine Brent Venables is kind of leading the charge here on some of this. And I think you're going to start to see Brent Venables become more heavily involved in recruiting linebackers because we've missed on some bigger fish that Brent Venables just hasn't necessarily been in the recruitments for, and I think that's about to start to change. I think Brent Venables wants to start landing the Sammy Browns of the world and things like that, things that he was already doing at Clemson, and he had to be involved at Clemson. Like, he couldn't just let Wes Goodwin do it at Clemson. He had to help do it at some level, and I think you're about to see Brent Venables maybe start to step into that role a little bit more as well. So, this is one that I was really excited about, and he'll be home tomorrow, and we're going to have him on as well to connect with him. So it'll be exciting. Wide receiver, though, Daniel Odom was a guy from St. John Bosco that was come to campus. Yes, that's interesting. It was a name that a lot of people kind of are a little high on. I'm gonna hold my reservations. I don't know if we're gonna go out and get a wide receiver from St. John Bosco, but there is an interior defensive lineman that Todd Bates has been recruiting pretty heavily. I believe his last name's Amaso or Amasaso. I know he really wants to come here. He was looking for a PWO. He did not take a visit this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, he's waiting for like a PWO or just some sort of offer. So maybe if we get that guy, maybe Daniel Odom's in the cards. But outside of the visitors, man, this was a big weekend. This weekend really starts to set up what your recruiting scene is going to look like for the upcoming year. Right? This is where you start to build momentum. These next two, along with this one, are really how you start to build out who you identify as people that you want to heavily target, who are going to be your priority targets, right? These guys that show up this weekend and then are going to show up back for the spring game, those are obviously going to be guys that you probably are going to end up in the top 3 for, guys that you're going to be heavily in the running. So Deuce Gilbert, or Ryan Gilbert, Markel Ford, those are both guys that are coming back. Obviously, Mason James and Caden Jones are coming back. Jaden O'Neill's will probably be coming back as well for that point. So, these are all guys that Oklahoma will be able to identify throughout the rest of the next couple months, prioritize, be able to lock in official visits for. Some of these guys they've even taken in-home visits to over the past couple of weeks. So, it was a good recruiting weekend so far from what we've gathered. But I will follow up with more guys probably on Monday. I usually because Sunday travel days.
Yeah, Sunday's travel day, right?
Yeah.
But no, fair point. But it's just the players themselves that we have interest. Daniel Odom, and I kind of like your point there. St. John's Bosco, kind of tough. But we've seen Emmett Jones go out there like for real. Like he's been spending a lot of time at the California schools, really working heavy inside of trying to get some of those guys not only on at wide receiver but other positions. This one could be a big one if we can get it.
Yeah, I asked somebody about him the other day that's kind of out in that area. And I mean, I think it's going to come down to, that whole family dynamic thing that we usually see where parents get involved and drive the recruitment. And so that's kind of where I look at Daniel Odom and go, I just don't know this early. It's not one of those wide receivers like an Alger Miles that I look at and go, oh, yeah, I think Oklahoma's going to land that guy. Like right now, I think I could look at 3 wide receivers in this class and go, Oklahoma's going to land those guys.
Right.
And
you had talked to me about one. Go ahead, PG. Coop, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Coop.
I didn't say anything. That was
I thought it was PG. You had talked about this kid, Alger Miles. You had mentioned him to me or whatnot. How you feel about him?
This is one where I think anytime he's on campus from here on out, I think we could see him commit. He's a guy that we were his first offer. He's a really good relationship with Emmett Jones, almost committed last year. Yep. And it's one of those things where he's a big body. He's 6'2", 200 pounds.
Jeez.
He's your Emmanuel choice of this class, right? He's one of those underrated wide receivers in a smaller, district in Texas that I think a lot of schools are going to overlook until the very end when they're out of luck on some of the wide receiver targets they were after. But by that point, I think he'll be locked in with Oklahoma. I think this is a guy that I think Oklahoma at this point will land. Alger Miles is an incredible prospect.
Bro, he's 6. He on his X account, he has himself listed 6'3", 205, 4.58 40, but he caught 78 catches for 1,450 yards, 14 touchdowns, and he had 20 pancakes.
Yeah,
I like the fact that he emphasized that he had pancakes.
Yeah, this is the guy that I will probably try to get out there to go see this year. Like, Collins talked about it a couple times in his podcast that he does with Sooners Illustrated, right? He's a really fun guy to go watch. So I'm definitely going to try to get out there to go see him.
Yeah.
I may make that because that's outside of Dallas, so that's not too bad. It's about 4 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, not too. It depends on who they play. I had to go look at their schedule. They may be something to consider. Take a Friday drive.
Now, I will say the thing with Alger that I want to see is how does he continue to work on the speed, effective speed. He's got the big body. The guy he's human high point. But it's guys like that who are guys that you want to kind of, I guess, hit your name to, because anybody who goes out there and says, hey, guys, I am really good at blocking as a wide receiver and puts pancakes out there, like I want him in the house every single day of the week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he likes to block. That's just, you don't get that very often. Like how many kids Coop, that like to block like that?
I know some defensive ends that were 5 stars that don't like to block.
Jimmy Satterfield asked about any 5 stars on OU's wish list. I have not followed up if Davian Gross actually made it to campus. There was a lot of speculation that he would. His teammate Ryder Mix was on campus, so hopefully by Monday we'll find out whether Davian Gross actually was on campus. I expected him to be. So that's the 5. That's the 5-star wide receiver. I would when you think of Davian Gross, think of Deebo Samuel out at the 49ers. That's what he is. He's a wide receiver that can kind of go into some running back packages a little bit. And then also another 5-star wide receiver, hilarious enough that Oklahoma is in on, but they don't have an offer out to, is 5-star wide receiver Tristan Keys. Oklahoma was not a name, just a name on that top 12.
Really?
Just putting that out there. They were not just a name on that top 12. There is interest from Tristan Keys to come to Oklahoma, but he does not have an offer yet. I'm not sure why that is, but he does not have an offer. So maybe we'll see an offer go out to Tristan Keys, but that's going to be an NIL recruitment all the way down. I know Tom Loy has a prediction in for Tennessee at the moment. He's out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, so Ole Miss and Mississippi State will do everything they can to keep him in state. So even if Oklahoma gives him an offer, I'm not counting my cards there. I think Davian Gross is probably the more likely candidate, just because with Davian Gross, you're going to have Ryder Mix committed in this class. You have Jordan Deck, the 4-star safety who Oklahoma's going after. We'll have to kind of see what's going on there, because I know with Jordan Deck, where it seemed last year, I think we really felt like Jordan Deck might land in this class. I think things have started to scale back a little bit with some uncertainty at the defensive coordinator and kind of what's going on with Brent Venables and, hey, like, will he be here past next year? So, but if Oklahoma can land Jordan Deck, that gives you 2 of his teammates. There's another corner out there that Jay Valai is potentially interested in. We'll see if they throw an offer out. So we're going to give Davian Gross a lot of reasons to say yes. The only problem is you're going to be fighting Texas A&M for that one. But I think Davian Gross is a guy that, since he can flex into 2 positions, you probably pay him a little bit more than you normally would.
And PG, the quarterback still plays a part in this. And so you're going to have those conversations from Jaden O'Neal, having conversations with some of these guys that he wants on the team. And that's what makes some of these, these marquee recruiting cycles really, really big, that you hit and you get them. And whoever you get, you need to make sure that they end up on the field and producing, because, the project's a little bit harder to swallow nowadays. But again, watch for this. The staff always has a fast riser that ends up, as a super, super high 3 or a very low 4-star that just keeps on going through the whole year. Do you have a guy that is a potential fast riser, maybe a 3-star or a 4-star that showed up or OU's in on currently?
Yeah, it's Aljor Miles on the offensive side of the ball. Aljor Miles, or a guy that's not committed to Oklahoma, currently committed to TCU, that I think if Oklahoma got into a situation where late they needed to shift and find another wide receiver, bookmark the name Brock Boyd out of South Lake Carroll.
Okay. Brock Boyd, South Lake Carroll. Okay.
Mm-hmm. 6'1", 165. Do you guys know of another guy that came out of South Lake Carroll that we just recently got?
Isn't that Jacob Jordan?
Jacob Jordan. So, I just bookmarked that one in your book. But yeah, it's Aljor Miles all the way. I think that's a guy that's going to rise into probably a top 250 status when it's all said and done. I think he's a really, really good wide receiver. So, and then on the defensive side of the ball, it's got to be Valadon Stone. I don't think that's anybody that we've really talked about as much, especially on Sohn.
There's no T in his name, but yes.
Sohn.
I keep playing with the Stone name. I like it, though.
Especially on the defensive line, where we've talked about Deuce Geralds and James Carrington and some of those guys so often. I think we forget about him. I think that's going to be a guy that Oklahoma could sneakily go out there and beat a lot of schools for. It's going to be a fun year in recruiting, because these are going to be smaller classes, so you're going to see more intimacy between staff and recruit, and they're really going to prioritize some of these higher tier guys. I think Oklahoma's ready to start playing ball pretty heavily. Not that they haven't in the past, but I think they want to go out there and start shutting up some of the haters. I think the staff has heard this a lot, and I think they're ready to kind of put that to bed, and I think you're starting to see it with how they're recruiting this year.
Yeah, KJ Ford is another name that keeps jumping up to my name. And based upon one of the articles, I think it was Will Fong dropped.
Mm-hmm. 4-star defensive end out of Duncanville. I think this was his, if I remember correctly when I was looking the other day, I think this is his 7th or 8th visit to Oklahoma, which is absolutely insane. He came to like 3 or 4 games last year.
Yeah,
a guy out of Duncanville. Now, SMU and Texas are kind of really pushing for him, but guys, I don't see how Oklahoma screws this up at this point. Like, he loves Oklahoma. He loves the family dynamic. Miguel Chavis has done an incredible job there. And if we land a guy out of Duncanville, Texas, that's a huge win. We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, I want Kevin Ford.
Yeah. Oh, he's big. He's big. I've stood next to him in person. He's big.
He's a legitimate 6'3". And I think he's bigger than the 2 1/4. I think he's probably more 235, 240. And it's like legitimate size guy. I would like him. And he's going to probably finish top 50 in the country. on all
and-
the recruiting
and for
sites.
people that really want to know, Colin Simmons for Texas, the guy standout freshman at defensive end, came from Duncanville. So they know or something one or two about developing defensive ends out there.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
And Colin
good.
Simmons was phenomenal for Texas, by the way.
He really was.
Like, yeah.
100%.
Like, super sad we missed out on that guy.
And I'm gonna put together a video profiling, just going through Kevin Ford and some of his film. He's got good hands. He gets around the edge easily. He hits. He's good.
Yeah.
He's good, like real good.
I always make an attempt to meet up with him when he comes into Norman for the football games. He is a
Good.
really fun guy to talk to. Really fun guy to talk to. And again,
This is why we pay
I'm
you,
just going to
PJ.
be honest, guys. When a player is interacting with me, not really an insider, not a guy on a site, right? Just a guy at the podcast, that kind of tells you something a little bit. Like, I mean, that should tell you their interest level.
Fair point. DJ Akerson, Randy Harris has posted about him. What do you think about DJ getting his offer from Oklahoma? And here he is right here. DJ.
The guy out of the Putnam
out of
City.
Putnam City. Athlete. He's a legitimate 6-footer.
Yeah, so I reached out to him. He's supposed to come on the podcast sometime next week. I really like to
Nice.
prioritize guys out of the state of Oklahoma, OK Preps guys. But he's out of Putnam City, so since he's here locally, actually probably right down the road from me, I will actually go out there to see him this year. Man, I don't know a whole lot about him yet. Like, this was one that I really did not have on my radar to kind of have. But he's a wide receiver, outside linebacker for Putnam City. I believe it's Emmett Jones recruiting him, so it sounds like they might want to put him at linebacker, but he's 6'2". Like, he's going to be another dude. But that wide receiver room, I'm going to be curious if they're going to take more than 4 guys, because I feel like it's kind of packed right now. So maybe 3 to 4 in this recruiting class. So we'll see if a guy like DJ Akerson will be able to commit early. And that might not be something where he's able to commit till later down the cycle if they need a wide receiver.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Non-committable, and that's important to say that. 'Cause, I mean, I watched a little bit of his film, and when I saw the offer go out, and when you said it right when you said it, he plays outside linebacker a little bit too. So there's a lot of these guys. Oklahoma kids are. I've seen a lot out of Oklahoma high school past couple of years. The wide receivers used to be just wide receivers, and now the blocking that's going into it, and what they're seeing out of college football from more of that spread it out, get the ball out of people's hands, get it to your playmakers. And so I'm pretty excited about some of the OK Preps, in 2026.
And he's had, so far in his 2 years on varsity at Putnam City, 110 total tackles, 72 solos, 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, 8 QB hurries, which I always tell people is an important statistic that a lot of people do not look at for defensive linemen or linebackers. How many times are they pressuring the quarterback? And then he has 16 tackles for loss. So this is the guy that can get home on the defensive side of the ball. So it'd be interesting. Like I said, I'll probably know more about him when I get the chance to talk to him. But there'll be another guy that we'll have to go out and watch, Jay. I think we're going to have a round of high school football to go see this year.
Oh, man. We're going to have a lot of Fridays that I'm going to have to find ways to get myself out of my house for. Oof.
Hey, I think we're going to have a good
nights.
reason to get out of our house on Fridays here pretty soon.
I mean, you say that.
I know that, Jay.
But I'm going to find a way to get out there and go see some more high school ball. We'll make our way down for some. I do have interest though in going down to Kaufman and going to check them out. Hearing that how exciting the ball is with that, I kind of want to get down there and see. I do need to get down to Norman North, see Mason James. Got to go to Mustang. Got to see them.
Come up to Tulsa, go see Taj. Steve
I
just
did. Yes.
He was on campus this weekend.
Yes,
Yeah.
Taj Overton was also listed as one of the many OK Preps that did pull up. I did see a picture of him. Shockingly, I don't see him on this list anymore. He was there because I remember seeing a picture of him.
That's a guy that I want. That's a guy that I need us to land super quickly. I want us to lock him down because I feel like his recruitment, if it starts to drag on, you're going to see more and more teams jump in on him.
I mean, a lot of schools kind of do have interest in him. Um, I know that we pulled up and saw him. I don't know if he actually came to campus this weekend, but he's okay prep that I definitely want to see here.
Yeah, and Taj, he's a guy who, again, Owasso had a great year. It was a Bixby Owasso overtime, 2-point conversion, hell of a way to end the year for their program. But he'll be a senior, and he is going to. We're going to see what he looks like when the hot and heavy is really coming after him. A lot of attention going on nationally for his services. He is just a stud, and as you can see right there, just had a little cleanup action going on. So Taj Overton is a kid. We're going to have a couple guys in the 26 class. We've got Taj here, and then 27. We've got some more guys here in the Tulsa area along the D line who are going to be freaks. And so pretty good opportunity in the Tulsa Metro to come in and see some good football. So if you guys are in the Tulsa, go see. I mean, it means something to these kids when you show up and you're screaming at them and hollering at them, because even some of these early season kind of mixed scrimmages, these things have 30, 40,000 people out there watching football.
Truth, man. I want some more of these Tulsa boys like this here desperately. I would like a lot of them to go ahead and pull up and be Sooners. We got to figure out how to make that happen.
Well, and we really got to rekindle our Tulsa, pipeline, because Lincoln Riley, I don't think people realize how bad he damaged that pipeline.
Well, yeah, and I even think that even with who was it? You still got Robert Spears Jennings.
You got Gentry Williams.
You got Gentry. As long as his shoulder cleans up, he's gonna be nice. Yeah,
on Jordan, just he played a little bit at the end of the year last year, but the good thing is outside of one or two, the Tulsa Metro or Tulsa's head coaches went for a little jumble and shuffle this year. I mean, you got Broken Arrow, Jinx, Owasso, Union, all with coaching changes. A lot of big names, switching around. So you should be here right now if you're this coaching staff rebuilding what was destroyed. But thing is you're still the in-state school. You're still, you want to get in and get somebody on your head, your side really, really quick. Do it right now. Just show up. Just be present. Be there.
Agreed. So Oklahoma's got some solid recruits coming for 2026.
And that's really not even all of it, Jay. There are some big time recruits that they're going after, and this could be another big year on the offensive line for Oklahoma. And they really didn't even have a big weekend there on that part. So the next two recruiting visits are going to tell you all you need to know about who Oklahoma is going to go after and who Oklahoma is seriously interested in. Like, for example, if Aljor Miles shows up in February for that recruiting weekend, he's probably committing at that point.
Is that the one at the end of the month?
I believe so.
Or is it the first weekend? Because I know that there's a dead period in the middle of February.
It's either the first or the last. Because it might be the first, because I think there is a...
Because Future Freaks is March.
Too. Yeah, March 8th. Which I think they'll have 2027 and 28 and 26 there at the same time. They'll kind of mix in both.
Yeah, Future Freaks will be March 8th. I know we got a list over in the Discord of players as they post that they're pulling up. We've got a whole listing of them in there. And then a guy like be another fun one.
And then a guy like Jake Krull, I've been talking to him. He is going to try to get up here for one of the junior days, but he'll probably be up here for just the spring game, coming from IMG Academy. But I would imagine if he's coming for the spring game, he might be bringing some teammates for the spring game. So IMG Academy weekend for Oklahoma during the spring game could be pretty big.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's fair. Oh, man. Chad Simmons just dropped an article about Sincere Johnson over there on 3. on his first time this weekend, first time visiting Oklahoma, and they made a grand first impression on me, is what he said. They showed the history and the level of competition they have, and no, it wasn't a surprise knowing Coach Venables. The difference with Oklahoma has been with realness, being able to talk to football junkies and players there. I was told about their foundation. And remember, we do got a lot of players from Ohio that's also about that life and trying to recruit. And so if we can get RP3 to snatch him in, that would be amazing.
So, do we know if Bill Bedenbaugh's on the road today, or did Carter Scruggs come to Oklahoma?
Carter Scruggs?
He is one of the top interior offensive linemen. Received an offer this past winter. He's number 134th nationally, 6'6", 270, out of Leesburg, Virginia. He just posted something 3 minutes ago with a picture with Bill Bedenbaugh.
He did.
Bill Bedenbaugh was on the road, so if he's on the road, that's a huge one.
Yeah, it looks like he is on the road. I think that's exactly what it is. And so I found the picture that you're talking about. Let me show that real quick before
we want this guy. We want this guy. 6'6", 270.
Hey, I'm just this is a good one too, because his leader right now is Penn State. So that's one that's we'll take him.
Hey, but he's wearing an OU shirt, so I'm not worried about it.
So am I.
That to me is huge.
Like, if he ain't on campus and he's wearing an OU shirt, like, come on.
Yep. Get the phone call. Bill Bedenbaugh's going to be pulling up. So, let me go throw my Oklahoma gear. Make sure
Tells
BB
you
knows.
he's got Oklahoma gear sitting around.
Readily available. I think that BB ended up traveling to this one. It doesn't feel like this was from the event, because I know that a lot of the players left today, this morning.
Yeah.
From the visits, and BB may have actually hit the road on that one. That's huge.
Yeah. But so the reason why I want to hit on the IMG stuff so much, especially with Jake Cruel coming for the spring, which I know he's coming for the spring game, at least that date. Will Conroy transferred to IMG Academy. And
Sure did.
Kenny Pepe, a 6'7", 295-pound offensive tackle, is at IMG Academy. He's a 5-star. Preston Carey is a defensive lineman, 6'4.5", 285, out at IMG Academy. You have a guy by, I believe it's Genevieve Carr, a 3-star interior offensive lineman out of IMG Academy. So he could really, and Brett College as well, can't leave him out. And Zach Fort, who's a safety. Will Conroy, guys, let me tell you, loves Oklahoma, loves him some Bill Bedenbaugh. He might be able to help us out in some recruiting up there. And if he can land us a 6'7" offensive tackle, not saying it's going to happen. Don't give your hopes up there. But having a guy plugged into the program right now, committed this early, that can help you recruit the entire season, I think is huge.
It doesn't feel like it's far-fetched, though.
Nope.
PG, how about Drew Evers, younger brother of a former Evers? What are your thoughts around him?
So I think he's more of a tackle, and I think it's just going to depend on who we take. I don't think, though, the Nick Evers stuff is going to play into effect, which I think some people have been worried about. I don't think that's going to be a problem. So if we want him, I think we can land him. But if Texas A&M or Texas want him, and we can get a guy like, I don't know, Felix Ojo, I would happily swap the two.
How about Papunga Katoa? Another
Toa Katoa. This is such a good name.
Toa Katoa.
That's the easiest way to say it. Toa Katoa. No, he loves Oklahoma as well. Again, at 6'3.5", 365, really big body. Don't really like the height a whole lot. Again,
6'4"-ish. So I mean, it's
I
not
think
bad.
One of those things where I would expect a guy like Noah Best out of Midlothian to want to hop on board with Oklahoma. So, again, we already have Will Conroy. I'm expecting Noah Best. I think it just depends. Like, I know we have to have a big interior offensive line class because we have a big tackle class from last cycle, and then you lost a younger guy in Eugene Brooks to the portal. So you're probably looking at 3 to 4 interior guys. But with Will Conroy, Noah Best already on board, if you can get a guy like Carter Scruggs, that's 3. I don't know if you take a guy like Toa Katoa at that point, knowing you still have a guy like Deacon Schmidt out there, or you could look at any of these, which, I mean,
PG, say that name. Wait again. Go ahead and say that weight one more time for him.
which one?
6'4",
His weight.
6'4",
Katoa.
365 right now, and that's down from 385.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I don't like this. I don't like his height. I wish he would be just a little bit taller, but he's good size. Like, I mean, big dude.
He carries it well. I'm looking at pictures of him now. He carries it very well.
I just think it's one of those things where if you got Carter Scruggs, you got Noah Best, you got Will Conroy on the interior, if they wanted to move Drew Evers into the interior at a guard position, you know, there's 4 guys right there. I don't know if you need to take 5 interior guys at that point. So, because I mean, you're still going to need probably 2 or 3 tackles, and you're going to want to go for a Felix Ojo or a Kani Pepe because you had a really good tackle class last cycle. You don't need to take a bunch, which means you could really go all in on one big dude and then just get like a project tackle, if that makes sense. So, I mean, Toa Katoa likes Oklahoma. He's been here 3 or 4 times, if I remember correctly. We got to watch him at the Brent Venables camps. I just don't know if he, kind of like the Putnam City kid, I just don't know if it's one of those things where they would take him right. Like, if he wanted to commit today, I don't know if it's one of those where they go, yeah, we'll take you today.
Something to kind of watch and keep your eyes on, which makes sense. There's a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, he's Toa Katoa is a kid I did a film right around this time last year. A lot of the offensive line guys, and a lot of those guys, the junior year is the big year where they kind of blow up. He's done really good. I think I saw Benji say he was in Austin here this weekend.
Yeah, he's at Texas this weekend.
Yep, and so was Felix Ojo. So
yeah,
but I want people to preface this. So Texas has to hit the offensive line hard this year. They have to. They have no choice. Kelvin Banks is going to the draft. DJ Campbell, who is the 5-star guard, he'll be going to the first round, second round next year. In 26. So they have to reload, meaning they have to get at least one 5-star tackle. Now you're looking at a guy like Turntine to end up committing to Texas. That's like their big guy that they're all looking for right now. So that kind of leaves maybe Felix Ojo for us, maybe. But they're going to go after some of these interior guys, like a Toa Katoa. So although Oklahoma sits in a good spot now, they still have Kyle Flood out there at Texas, which I think a lot of people forget is still a pretty damn good offensive line coach, especially with just now turning out Kelvin Banks. And I think there's one more guy he's going to put into the first round this year. The only question that I have for Texas is, and this would be great for Oklahoma fans, does Kyle Flood end up at the Dallas Cowboys job? Somebody kind of mentioned his name the other day for that offensive line coaching job, if that becomes open. And if he ends up up there, oh boy, man, Oklahoma's going to have an open season because I don't know if Texas can find another great offensive line coach like that could turn it around that quickly. They would have to be a huge portal team in the offseason at the offensive line position. So just keep your eyes on that. But no, I mean, Texas is going to be a heavy player in every single offensive line recruitment that Oklahoma's in. It's just how it's going to be, and they're going to beat us probably in more than we want to this year because they're in the position that Oklahoma was in last year.
Yeah, you're dead on. But you guys got to understand too, we're going to be going against Texas and A&M on pretty much any of these inside offensive linemen, guys from the area. It's going to be on the same names on the same teams, and that's how it's going to be. It is a tale of oldest time. Great thing for us, the haul that we pulled in this year. It gives us some capability to be a little bit more picky, and we don't need it to be a numbers game. We can kind of, really, really put it down and, make the conversations when you have the one-on-ones with, the offensive linemen we're going to be going after. You can be really, really kind of dialed in.
This is a great interior offensive line class. This is a great year to need to take 3 or 4 interior offensive linemen because I think it's really deep. I think it's a really deep interior offensive line class. Now,
and the rankings are showing it too.
Now, however, though, Coop, you mentioned Texas and Texas A&M as schools we're going to have to be competing with. SMU is throwing out a lot of money right now, and I would say they have just as much money as Texas or Texas A&M at some points. They have a lot of good donors at that school. So,
Oh, yeah.
and now that they're in the ACC, I think they could end up becoming a bigger problem. So, and SMU is in a lot of these recruitments silently, and it's a team we're not talking about. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how SMU plays a factor into Texas recruiting, and then Texas Tech. Are they a team that's going to go out there and just try to start buying recruits and really start to build their classes that way?
So as you talk about the money side of it, I'm going to be honest. I think SMU may have missed their window on that. Because once rev share kicks in, which will be this summer, and there's going to be the changes in NIL and everything, you're not gonna get much on. I think collectives are going to get quote unquote neutered very soon.
Yeah, but that could actually help SMU out though with revenue sharing, because now you
Not
don't
really.
have a Texas and a Texas A&M outbidding you by an exponential
No,
amount. You're on
and
more of an
that's
even
fair.
playing field, and if you have donors with companies that want to set up, because I think that's what they're going to make NIL now. NIL is truly going to become hey, I'm doing commercials or advertising for your business, right? Instead of I'm funneling money to a collective. SMU's got people like that. And so I think, SMU now can get on that level playing field and kind of have some of those pre-written NIL packages where, hey, like you come to SMU, we're going to have you do a commercial, whether you're, I don't know if they have anybody, but let's say a pancake commercial, right? Let's say if they got somebody that owns a pancake company.
Local barbecue shop, doing it for the entire
something
offensive line. Like they did at Arkansas. I love that. That was my favorite NIL deal, by the way. That one and the big dude at Ohio State that was marketing candles. That was probably my second favorite one. That was amazing. He had like a Blue Mountain something that
Who
he
had the
enjoyed.
Waffle House one? So somebody's offensive
awesome.
lineman had Waffle House.
I don't know who had the Waffle House endorsement.
I want to say it was Texas had the Waffle House. No, it was Florida State.
I thought it'd be Georgia Tech because it's a Georgia company, so I would expect it to be Georgia.
Tech's funny. Man, Georgia Tech's another one of those schools that, they've got some donors. Like when revenue sharing comes in, could they be a school that
You
starts
saw
to
it this year.
ravage some of those Georgia
the
commits, and
Yeah, you saw the 2025 class. They got their 5-star. But guys, I will say this: my favorite one wasn't there his either last name was like Freeze or Chill or something like that, and it was like a wide receiver, and he had an HVAC.
The coldest.
the coldest.
Yeah, the coldest. Yeah, Forrester, right? Was that the
Yes.
last name?
Yeah. He was at Nebraska. He had that whole commercial and everything. That was so amazing.
He
And he
needed
had the
to
transfer
do that
portal.
beer commercial. What's the beer commercial where they're always going into the freezer?
Coldest Crawford.
Oh, that's Coors Light. That's the
Yeah,
Super
that's who he should have gotten an NIL deal with.
I mean, I don't think they don't let you do alcohol or gambling, unfortunately.
oh,
yeah.
But the coldest, he's at LA Tech now. He's Louisiana Tech now.
So
That was a fun one. He's out of Shreveport, so yeah, that was a fun one.
So he's a prime wide receiver transfer portal guy for us next year if he's out of Louisiana Tech.
Dakota's Crawford was legit. That was a fun. His commercial was actually really good too. That was a really good, actually great production on that. All right, let's wrap it up with a bow on it. PG, anybody that you think we need to keep our eyes on?
Tristan Keys. I'm really curious to see what happens with the 5-star wide receiver. Puts Oklahoma in his top 12. Does Oklahoma send him an offer? And then if so, can Oklahoma go out there and land a wide receiver that I think we all expect to be a huge NIL recruitment? Does he want to play with a guy like Jaden O'Neal? Because I want everybody to know, before he dropped his top 12, I noticed Jaden O'Neal was interacting with him on the Instagram in the comment sections. And so usually when stuff like that's happening and your quarterback's out there recruiting like that, that kind of tells you a little bit of something. So I'm keeping an eye on Tristan Keys. Let's see if he will end up coming to Oklahoma.
Yeah, Jaden O'Neal's out here doing work. I mean, him going out there to Miami and showing out with the 707 or whatnot. Jaden's trying to bring in the top talent with him. So We got to make sure that we take care of him, which we will. I'm excited to see him get here. Get here for what's that? She should be here for Future Freaks. At least I hope he may come for Future Freaks. But if anything, he'd definitely be here for the spring game. And
He'll be here for Future Freaks. I don't know if he'll be here for the February one, but he'll be here for Future Freaks, and he'll be here for the spring game.
yeah, it's gonna be nice. Cool. Anybody in particular you want to see us get our hands on?
At this point in time, we are so early, and this is just your closing PSA for all of our fan bases. When someone comes and has a conversation with you, you're not best friends. You're having a conversation, whether it's a recruiter or defensive coordinator. So I promise myself I will be very calculated, during this year, because I think that we're going to see some squirrely stuff approaching the rev share deadline and then right after. So you may see some more psychotic spending habits by certain people, certain programs in the spring portal. But right now, I mean, we the guys that we talked about, the early Sincere, and then how do you say his name? Not Stone, but Sone. Yeah, Sone. So like guys like that, those are the guys that you want to continue to build. A complementary football team, not just focus on one side versus the other. So we've seen what happens when you focus offense only. We've seen what happens when you focus defense only. So let's go out there and let's get out there. And Boomer 129, listen, PSAs are terrific, especially for old radio execs. So,
Exactly.
Hey, Jay, I don't know if you do this. We forgot to give the OU men's basketball team a shout out. They
won in Arkansas.
They had a huge win last night against Arkansas.
They won at Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good win because it was a win. Now they get to come back and play the number 13 team in the country.
And here's the deal, though. They talked about how they did not expect the SEC to be this physical. And I think you've started to see their game shift a little bit, and they're starting to play more physical. Maybe they're practicing a little different. Maybe this Oklahoma team can start to spurt off some more SEC wins. Watch out. I think we're about to start seeing something special from the men's basketball team. They're starting to figure it out. Congratulations to them. Now go win like 5 more games.
I disagree with you as they are starting to figure it out. They played an unranked team and had a little bit more of an actual opportunity. These guys, I mean, listen, you've got between Jalen Moore, he is a guy who should not be a number one guy. And he is doing really, really well. And then Fears is doing really good too. So, I mean, you Porter this year, I will admit, watching early, I thought, I'm not going to jump at this. We play a couple ranked. We get our butts handed to us a couple times. And I go, maybe there. So this team needs – let's wait till the end. Let's get through the end of the year because I think it's going to – you just got to – going to have to see what a whole entire conference seasons look like. Just like the Big 12, though, it's not like you got to, have double-digit wins and, be 5 games over 500 to make the tournament. I mean, it's going to be the same pretty much as the Big 12 this year. You get right up there. I think I saw the bracketology had us in the, in the playoff, or I guess in the tournament as of right now. So just keep stacking them together. Steal one here and there, and just don't lose anything that you're not supposed to.
That is the most important thing, Coop. Thank you for pointing that portion of it out. I think that's the one thing that we need to make sure we understand.
Very much.
Don't lose the ones that you're supposed to win. And then go out there and upset a couple of them that you can. So, all right, we're out. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. Go check out PG over on the PG show here on the tubes as well. And he's got, the Thunder Up podcast. He does like a whole bunch of different random stuff. Same thing for, finding me and Coop here. I'm going to launch the pro channel in the very near future. So with that, we'll chop it up with each and every single one of y'all in a couple days. Peace.